Hey, it's Anna. Welcome back to my channel, and it is finally time for the September Readathon. I set out an incredibly ambitious TBR for September, which I'm gonna get more in depth with next week as I do my first TBR related video. I don't think I've really done one before that was month specific, but this week for the Readathon, I want to try to see if I can actually complete it, which would be very, very exciting. So on the docket, I have 2 audiobooks and then 3 physical books, really trying to focus on 2 physical books. Getting these 2 done would be just so exciting, and I feel like I would be really accomplished for September. I'm confident in finishing at least one, and you've seen it before if you've watched some of my videos. It is Falhart's Huntsman, finally going to finish this massive book. It is 593 pages. I am on page 200. So in theory, if I read 200 pages one day and 200 pages the next, I will be finishing this. Now, do I think I'm going to read 200 pages on this first Friday? No, but I'm hopeful to read 200 pages of it Saturday and then Sunday, hopefully getting done with this. This is my main priority come Saturday and Sunday, and Friday once work is done. This, I am just going to be finishing it. I started this, I think, in February. I ended at the exact spot where I knew I said I either have to commit to finishing it or I just gotta wait until I have time. I finally have time. I recently met Chloe Gong, which you'll see that video in a few weeks, and I would really love to do a full wrap-up of the book in that video. So even if I don't finish it during the readathon, I'm finishing this book. The final book on my physical TBR that I have not finished yet is Wisteria. I read 12 pages of it in August. I think I am just officially going to restart the entire book and act like I didn't finish it at all. I am interested in this. I just feel like I'm so methodical with my TBR right now that this just kind of slipped to the wayside. I would love to get any portion into this book. Obviously, finishing it is ideal, but my priority is obviously Falhart's Huntsman, so would love to get to this. Am I going to? I don't know. I guess it just kind of depends. I'm definitely going to use this, though. If I need a break from Falhart's Huntsman, I'm going to pick this up first. If I miraculously finish Falhart Huntsman and I get a decent portion into Wisteria, I do have Wish I Were Here to read. This is an arc that comes out on October 15th. I definitely want to finish it before then. I am in Forever Publishing's Discover Forever influencer group for the months of September through January. I'm trying to do at least 1 arc a month, so this is my arc for October. I am super excited. I read 1 chapter of this book and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it, so this is definitely motivation to get through my other 2 longer books. And I would love to say that I could focus on my physical books and get all of that done. Unfortunately, that is not possible. My boss is going overseas for a vacation, and Hurricane Helene has unfortunately hit Florida and Georgia. We have a few stores in Georgia, and I am the point person for our department to help with hurricane relief. I haven't gotten any word yet. It's still pretty early on the day that has happened. I've seen just the awful flooding videos. It looks catastrophic, and so I want to be really present at work today to be able to do what I can to help the branches. I'm hopeful that all of our workers are safe. Again, they're in Georgia, which I don't think got it as bad as Florida, but I know Georgia's had quite a few tornadoes too. So kind of playing the waiting game in terms of seeing what our branches look like, how many folks were affected, things like that. So I actually have a 7:30 a.m. meeting, and then after that, we're just gonna see how the rest of the day goes. I do have 2 audiobooks lined up. I'm confident I'm going to be finishing one. If I finish the other, that means I definitely did not spend enough time reading physical books. So my first audiobook that I am already over 7 hours into is Every Last Fear by Alex Finlay, and this is my second book by him. I'm liking this one better. I feel like I'm definitely more interested in it and following along versus reading his book What Have We Done. So I don't know how I feel about Alex as an author as a whole, but it's been nice to kind of give him another chance after having What Have We Done not be my necessary favorite and enjoying this one. So after I finish that one, most likely during work, because I do have a lot of tasks today where I can listen to audiobooks pending figuring out what to do about the hurricane. And then the second audiobook I have is These Vicious Games by Joelle Wellington. I just listened to The Blonde Eyes First by her. I really liked it, so I want to listen to this book, which I believe was her debut, and I don't know anything about it. I definitely just rented the book because I enjoyed her other book, and because I'm part of that Forever Publishing group, I have a lot of romance books that I know I'm going to read as arcs, so I'm trying to make my audiobooks more fantasy and thriller and not as romance related so that I don't don't necessarily get burned out by reading like 3 romance books at once, right? By reading a physical romance book, listening to a romance book, and then reading a romance book on my ebook. So trying to keep those a lot more thriller-esque. I am already quite a ways into the readathon because this morning I got up to check my phone to see if there were any hurricane updates, and then I just kind of like laid in bed, but I was awake, so I did put on Every Last Fear, and I've already listened to 1 hour and 14 minutes, which is more than I've ever listened to in the morning, and it's only 6:47 on this Friday morning, which honestly I think is pretty good because I do have few things to do over this weekend. The first one tomorrow is a bowling meeting, so that will take us out of the house, and it gives me, I would say, definitely the morning to physically read, and then I don't know what the afternoon's gonna look like. And then same thing on Sunday is I have book club in the afternoon where we're talking about Before We Were Strangers, and I have the morning to read, and then I don't know fully what the afternoon looks like. So that's why I gave myself specifically the goal of Saturday and Sunday morning trying to read 200 pages of Falhar's Huntsman to really get through it. If I get any portion of it done tonight, that means it lowers what I have to read over the next few days, and hopefully I can get to other books. So because I am starting work so early, depending on the workload, I might start reading Falhart Huntsman earlier in the afternoon than I usually do. And I actually cut the grass yesterday in order to not do it over this weekend so I could really focus on finishing Falhart's Huntsman. So we'll see how that pays off. Since it is so early, it is 7:48 on the East Coast, and a survey was sent out to our folks at 7 on the East Coast to hopefully see if folks were able to make it to the branches, if they're not able to make it there, trying to figure out that game plan. So I'm definitely going to check work, see if any folks have been able to respond. I hope they're able to respond, just overall making sure, marking themselves as safe, and then if they can't get to the branch, I don't really care because their safety as people obviously come first. So I don't know where the day will take us, but I am excited for the readathon. I'm really hopeful to get through my TBR. It would be such an accomplishment. This is my highest reading month this year, so I would be really proud of myself if I can really push myself to actually finish the crazy TBR that I set earlier this month. So let's log into work, continue listening to an audiobook, and I will check in with you. I promise I will check in with you for like a midday day 1 update. I'm not gonna leave you to day 2. Really hope I'm not jinxing myself with that. So let's start this readathon off super strong. All right, it is midday on day 1. See, I promised an update this time. I have read for almost 2 hours and 40 minutes. I have about 2 hours left of Every Last Fear. We did have some storm damage at one of our buildings, so I did have to pause. Had a lot of calls about that, and we have a plan going forward. Luckily, all of our employees are safe, which is number 1. I would rather take, fixing a building than like somebody being hurt. So that was overall, I feel like a net positive. Just a lot of work trying to find, everyone that you need to try to fix a building when lots of buildings are damaged. So I have enjoyed listening to Every Last Fear. It's very interesting. You are following Matt Pines, really, is one of the main folks you're following. His family has kind of been through the social media circus. His older brother, Danny, was tried and found guilty of unaliving a girl by smashing her face with a rock, but it looks like it was a false confession. There was a Netflix documentary made about it, which really brought to light their entire family. Matt had nothing to do with the documentary, but his family of Evan Pines, the father, Olivia Pines, the mother, Maggie Pines, the daughter that got into MIT, and their son. They don't really talk about the younger son as much, but all 3 of those folks were major players in the documentary, and they are, continuing to try to free their son/brother. And Matt's whole family, though, and by whole family, I mean mother, father, daughter, and son, so excluding Matt and excluding Danny, because Danny is in prison, the 4 of them, turns out that they are murdered in Mexico. And so this is following the story of Matt trying to get his family back, figure out what happened to his family. The other perspective that you get that is not a part of that Pines family is Sarah Keller, who is an FBI agent, and she was actually already had a connection to the Pines because she was investigating the office that Evan worked for like financial corruption. So that's how she gets brought in to all of this. So I feel like there's a lot of storylines. I like how even though they're using 2 different narrators, they always announce at the beginning of the chapter who's talking. So all I have to do to really follow along is make sure I know who was talking at the beginning of the chapter, because it's not like the male narrator has a different voice for Matt versus Danny's chapters versus Evan's chapters. It's one main voice, but they're telling you who's talking at the beginning of the chapter, which I appreciate. appreciate. I usually am able to pause it at the end of a chapter, and so it's pretty easy to follow along. It's pretty twisty. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm sure somebody's going to say it's predictable. I feel like that's how all thrillers go, is there's always someone who thinks a thriller is predictable. I've thought thrillers were predictable before, but definitely not this one. So now that the day has calmed down, I'm probably going to work for at least another 3 to 4 hours. So hopefully I finish Every Last Fear while I'm still working, and then I can start their Vicious Games, not these Vicious Games. Their Vicious Games is what I'll start next and get into that a little bit today, but I have Foulheart Huntsman literally right next to me. I'm itching to get to it. So let's finish up some audiobooks, finish up the work, and then get to our physical books. All right, it is day 2 of the readathon. It is 10:39 in the morning, and I've read for 12 hours and 46 minutes. Yesterday, technically, I got to like 9 hours, and so I've read for almost 4 hours today, which is pretty good. I finished Every Last Fear by Alex Finlay. I liked it better than his other one, What Have We Done? But I just don't know if it's a true 4-star read for me either, because I rated What Have We Done by him a 3.5 out of 5 stars. And since I like this one better, but I just don't know if it's the same as some of the 4 stars I've rated this month. So this might be my first like 3.75 star that I felt like pretty confident about. I don't usually do quarter ratings, but that's where this particular book for Every Last Fear is really putting me. So I don't know. That'll be interesting to see. I will say I only have 3 reviews that I haven't done this month and forever pretty much. So my Goodreads and Storygraph are actually up to date for once, which is not something that I'm used to, but I am quickly adding books back up to review. So yeah, 3.75 out of 5. I actually feel pretty confident saying that for Every Last Fear. I actually recommended his books to my mom. I think she would like his books a little bit better than I do. But let me tell you, the next audiobook, Their Vicious Game, this is right up my alley. These are the books that I have been loving. You get into these dark, twisted worlds that also have commentary on like race or social structure, and it's just so dystopian to me in thriller, and I absolutely love it. So Their Vicious Games, I'm over 2 hours into it, and I definitely don't want to stop listening to it, which is not good because I need to focus on my physical books. So in Their Vicious Games, we follow Adina, who in the town that she lives in suburbia, which is like the poorer place compared to where all the rich kids live, and her parents work at this exclusive school, so she was able to go. She had an acceptance to Yale. She thought she was really moving up in the world, but she gets into a fight with one girl at the school, and the girl has a lot of power, so her Yale acceptance gets rescinded. She is like blacklisted among everybody, and of course she is black, so there was already a lot of struggles with her trying to just get to where she felt she deserved, and then just instantly knocked back down due to a fight. And there is something that happens in this town called The Final. I think that's what it's called. No, it's called The Finish. So there's this competition called The Finish that this one uber rich family, the Remingtons, put on every year, and it's for, you know, like test of aptitudes. It's somebody that they champion, and Adina goes on to list what some of the women who have won The Finish have gone on to do. But her year, when she gets invited to The Finish, is not their standard year, and it's actually turning into a deadly competition. She thought she was getting into The Finish to get her Yale acceptance back, but now she has to try to stay alive, and it's just so wild. I liked Joelle's book, The Blonde Dies First. This one I think I'm gonna like a lot better. It's just much more my speed. I have to read you how they sell it on Goodreads because this is exactly describing how I feel about it. So they describe it as Ace of Spades, which I definitely get that high school vibe, black character that's being targeted by these white characters, meets Squid Games. That's literally instantly what I thought of when they were describing the premise of The Finish for this particular year, with a sprinkling of The Bachelor. I mean, I feel like those are such a great descriptor, so I am loving it. The only thing I'm going to say is that I don't like the audiobook narrator, and I don't know what my luck has been lately, but I feel like the audiobook narrators that I've been listening to just haven't been very good with the voices at all, and I feel like I really have to pay attention to who's talking when because it just sounds so monotonous. If I finish Vicious Games during this readathon, which honestly eventually I might, just because it's very good and I don't want to stop listening to it. And I do have quite a bit of driving to do yet this weekend. If I finish it, I'm actually going to pick up Chain Gang All-Stars, I think is what it's called, because the audiobook narrator that narrates that book is the same audiobook narrator that narrated the Gilded Ones, and I loved her audiobook narration of the Gilded Ones. So I'm literally trying to find books that I'm like, I know she does voices really well, and I just really need to listen to that. So audiobooks are going pretty well, but I do have a good update physically too. I was able to read about 100 pages of Foul Hearts Huntsman yesterday, and I've read about another 100 pages today. So I'm still 200 pages away from the end, but I've made quite a bit of progress. I'm super proud of myself for that. It's just a long book though. It's very long, and the text is kind of big. Like, there's just a lot of words on pages. It's not as bad as like Fourth Wing or something like that, but there's just a lot of words. I'm starting to feel the fatigue from just solely reading this book, but my goal is to finish it during this readathon. I don't think it's bad. I just feel like it's so much being thrown at you constantly, and some of the descriptions are just a little bit longer. It's slowing down the pace, but I did definitely stop at the perfect spot when I did my like little soft DNF, whatever you want to call it, back in February, because I do remember pretty much what's happened. I've been able to jump right back in, which is great, but I'm just starting to get fatigued with how much I've read this, which again, I've read 200 pages of it within, not like a full 24-hour span, but quite a bit. And I also read, I think it was another 75 pages right before I started the readathon too. So I feel like I've just read a lot of this book, and I'm finding physically lately that I do need to hop around between books. It's just based off of like moods or making sure I'm still paying attention. So in about, 30-ish minutes, I have to get ready to go to a bowling coaches meeting. I am going to set an alarm for when I will just stop reading this, and I'm just going to continue to read it for as long as that alarm allows me, about 30 minutes. And then I'm going to switch to the audiobook, go to the coaches meeting, come back, and then I think I'm going to pick up Wisteria and Wish I Were Here and start cycling between those books, because I believe what I had said is, I just needed to read 200 pages today and then 200 pages tomorrow to finish the book. Well, I was lucky enough to read 100 pages last night, so I only had to read 150 pages today and then 150 pages tomorrow. Since I've already read 100 pages, I just have that last little 50 to go to reach my goal. So I'm hoping that by switching books when I get home from grocery shopping and the bowling meeting, that then I will be able to still finish this. And I think my eyes just might need a break. That's the other thing too, is I just think I need something different to look at. It's not bad though. I really actually love all the perspectives you get in Foul Hearts Huntsman, and I can tell that this is gonna have very good resolution overall. It is the second book in the duology. The first book was Foul Lady Fortune. I really liked Foul Lady Fortune. I feel like Chloe Gong definitely excels when she does not have to describe the entire world to us. I feel like I definitely like this duology better than Immortal Longings right now, until the third book for Immortal Longings comes out. But we're really focused on the characters here. There is a lot of action. There is a lot that goes on. It just feels like such a big book right now. I think my brain is just starting to psych itself out. So that is the goal, is to see how many pages I can read in about the next 30 minutes, drive, go grocery shopping, which I can listen to an audiobook during. So I'm definitely going to get further in their Vicious Games, which I don't know if that's good or bad, because then I'm not going to want to put it down. And then hopefully when I get back, I'm going to pick up Wisteria and Wish I Were Here, and I'm just going to switch every chapter. I think I'm just going to switch books for pretty much the rest of the evening and get a decent portion into each of the books. So that's lately how I've been reading. I don't know if everybody else reads like that. I did recently see somebody who said like they had a huge stack of like 10 books and they're like, these are all the books I'm in the middle of. And I like doing that with physical books and also then my Kindle, because I do have some arcs to read. So we'll see how it goes for this readathon, but I'm still super happy about how much I've been able to get done so far. And I feel like I'm definitely going to hit 24 hours, which is fun. I don't know if I'm going to go for 30 or not, because I know I do have some things that I absolutely need to do. So we'll just have to see. But I'm yapping because I'm avoiding picking this back up, because this has been a little nice break for my eyes. So let's jump back into Foul Hearts Huntsman, and then we're going to be getting out of the house for a little bit. All right, I think I've filmed a lot of time lapses from this angle, but I don't think I've really talked from this angle before. But I am literally getting ready to go to sleep, so I thought I would do an end of day 2 update. I think that's better to do for this video just because I have actually been flipping around books, because then tomorrow I can just get right into reading, don't have to worry about an update. So let me show you where I'm at. It's currently 8:49 at night on day 2 of the readathon, which I know is early for some people, but not for me. I've read for 19 hours and 23 minutes. I might read a little bit more tonight, but it's definitely not my priority anymore. I actually do have quite a bit of content that I want to film tomorrow, but I do want to hit 30 hours at the same time. I don't feel that far off, which is really good, and I'm actually really excited to keep reading all of my books. So I've listened to a little bit more of their Vicious Games, of course, while I'm eating or moving around. It's just always good to have an audiobook during a readathon for me. I'm still loving it. Listened to it driving to the bowling coaches meeting and all of that. So I am over halfway done with it, which means I've listened to over 6 hours. So my initial estimation earlier today, where I thought I only listened to 2, I think I'd listened to like 3 at that point. And I love it. That book I feel like was made for somebody like me. I always try to think of who books are made for in terms of readers, and I feel like that was a book that was just made for me as a reader. But I have some good updates regarding my stacks of physical books as well. I'm really glad I decided to flip between other books while reading Foul Heart's Huntsman. I have gotten farther in it, which I'm very, very proud of. I'm on page 488 out of 596, so I'm doing really good. Would I love to get it down tonight so that I'm exactly 100 pages away from finishing it? And I know I can get through 100 pages in just a few hours in the morning. Maybe. We're gonna see though. I am just definitely excited because I know now with confidence I'm going to at least finish this during the readathon, and that means that I've read probably about like almost 400 pages of this book on top of all my other physical reading. I'm super proud of that. I also feel like now I maybe just got to a slower point in the book and now it's really picked up again. And while I was switching from chapter to chapter in this book, I actually read 2 chapters of this book in a row because I needed to know what happened so badly. So I definitely feel like it's picking up. With how long this is, of course there's going to be some dull moments in the book, but I am really enjoying it still. I can't wait to see how the resolution all comes together. So for Wisteria, the only part that I did not reread was the prologue, which was about 8 pages. So I technically started at page 9 because I remembered the prologue, but I was not that far into obviously chapter 1. So I have read quite a bit of this. I feel like that's an okay amount. I'm on page 82 and there are 419 pages in this book. And like I said, I feel like I haven't focused a ton of attention on this, so I feel like it's going to be a really fast read. I don't know if it's the print or whatever. I do think this is going to be my favorite book in the entire Belladonna series. So Belladonna is book 1, Foxglove is book 2, Wisteria is book 3. I really am enjoying this. It's definitely a different vibe than the first 2 books, and the author kind of talked about that when I met her, and I can definitely see that. And I think I'm really, really enjoying this a lot more than the other 2. This is also the first one that I've physically read in the series. I listened to the other 2 in the series, so I wonder if that's having any effect on my reading. But I'm proud to get like 80 some pages done. Plus I had read some of Foul Heart's Huntsman. Plus, on top of that, I had read a bit of Wish I Were Here as well. I finished 6 chapters of Wish I Was Here, so let me see what percentage that is. I'm about 22% of the way done with Wish I Were Here. I didn't think I was that far into it, which is kind of crazy. Again, this comes out October 15th, I'm pretty sure. You are following Catherine, who is very, very type A, and you get to see why she's so type A, but when she goes in for her orientation for a new job, she is told that she essentially like does not exist. Her social security isn't coming up with anything, and like she's mentioned that she's had other jobs, so they think it's a mix-up. I'm at the part where she's gonna go and try to like fix the mix-up. Of course, this is a romance novel as well. You have the doorman Luca, who I know is going to be integral in figuring out what has happened with Catherine's social security. So I am also really enjoying this so far. I feel like now I have a pretty strong lineup of physical books, and then I have a really strong audiobook. This is like the most excited I feel like I've been about a lineup of books for a readathon in a bit. I think it's been a while since I've obviously done a readathon, but I'm actually really excited to potentially keep reading. But I have my handy dandy laptop here. I have some content to plan for tomorrow. I need to record some content tomorrow. I have to edit this video. So I feel I'm in such a good place with day 2 that I feel like I have time to organize this, and I could feel myself starting to like close my eyes a bit more, nod my head during the latest chapter of Wish I Were Here. So we're gonna switch for a little bit, might be able to read a little bit more, might listen to a little bit of their Vicious Games. I'm not really sure, but I'm very interested to see where tomorrow goes, especially because I am supposed to have a book club meeting, but we haven't determined the location yet, but I know it's in the afternoon, so I'm really gonna try to finish Foul Hearts Huntsman before heading to book club. So that's a wrap on day 2. Let's see where I decide to pick up day 3 at. It is day 3 of the October Readathon. Hooray! I did just finish filming some content. I need to edit for maybe like 10 minutes and then I'm back to the Readathon. The only thing that I have as a big factor today is meeting up for book club, which I still don't fully have an answer to. And we're supposed to be meeting in a few hours, so definitely gotta figure that out. But time-wise, we are at 23 hours and 54 minutes. I know, so close to 24 hours. How could I have stopped? Well, it's just where my audiobook stop. I had to get some recording done. I'm definitely obviously gonna hit 24. I feel like I've been able to hit 30 pretty consistently, which is really nice. I feel like I should not get in the habit of that, but I definitely want to try to hit 30 for this readathon. Obviously, my biggest factor right now is I don't know what's happening with book club. I have listened to more of their Vicious Games naturally today. I am getting close to finishing it. That might be the second audiobook I finished during the readathon because I literally don't know where I'm going today. I have some chore stuff to do, so I'm really liking it though. I really like their Vicious Games. I really think it's gonna be a 5-star read. Unless something goes terribly wrong in these last 3.5 hours, it's probably gonna be a 5-star read for me, in all complete honesty. But I would not be mad if I didn't finish their Vicious Games if I was actually able to finish Wisteria. That's right, I took off the dust jacket. I don't know what it was about this that made the dust jacket so slippery. I had to take it off to read it. I don't usually do that anymore, but I had to. I would be so happy if I was able to finish Wisteria during this readathon, which means I finished Foul Heart Huntsman. I finished it this morning, 4 out of 5 stars. That's what I have to say. It's the second book in a duology, but in my opinion, you have to read a whole other duology before getting to it. Makes it a little tricky, in my opinion. So I was still confused. In this book, in the conclusion of this duology, I was still kind of confused on some of the characters because you had to have read another duology to really know them. And I didn't know that before because it's not marketed like that. So when I release my video meeting Chloe Gong, you can hear more of my thoughts in there. But I finished this. I feel so good about finishing this. This is the book that I was in the middle of for the longest time. I feel so happy finishing this. And then I feel like I haven't spent a ton of time reading Wisteria, but I'm over a fourth of the way done. And so I feel like if I did not have book club today, I would be able to confidently say I could finish it, but I really don't know. I would love to be able to finish this. This is actually the last book on my September physical TBR. And I had like 12 books. I had a crazy ambitious TBR. I would love to finish this. I would love to finish this. I plan to talk about my TBR process in next week's video. Would love to just finish this today. I just don't know. I don't know what the day looks like. So I know I'm definitely going to have a little bit more time to read Wisteria before going to book club, but because I don't know where book club is and I don't know how long it's going to take, I don't know what that means in terms of like coming back home. So I feel like I'm so close to finishing this, and I don't usually stay up late too much to read books because I just get so tired because I wake up so early, but I'm really motivated to just finish this. I have read none of Wish I Were Here. I'm still interested in it, don't get me wrong. Just Wish I Were Here was not something that was on my TBR this month, and now that I'm so close to finishing that, I feel like I'm just so motivated to finish Wisteria. So motivated. So that's where we're at for day 3. I definitely have to drive to get to wherever book club's gonna be. So I'm definitely listening to more of their Vicious Games anyway. And that makes me really excited. Because I filmed so much today, I'm hoping that I don't have to film as much tomorrow. And then even though that won't be part of the readathon, just like being able to finish their Vicious Games and Wisteria before the end of the month would make this my highest reading month, which would just be really fun. So I'm really gonna push myself with Wisteria. I'm really going to do that. Like I said, this so far is such a banter-filled book. I don't think I've seen banter done quite this way before, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it between the main female character and the female main character. I am avoiding names because I think that's inherently part of the spoilers. You have to read Foxglove and Belladonna. I think I'm pointing to them behind me. They're right there. So you have to read those two before reading Wisteria. So I'm trying not to give too many spoilers away. I am enjoying it, which is good. And like I said, I am over a fourth of the way through. So that gives me hope because I really don't think I've spent a lot of time reading this, and I feel like I could get through it. Even if I just get like halfway through today or more than halfway through, like I would be really proud of myself, especially again, not knowing how the rest of the day is going to go. We'll see. We're just going to see. I have to go edit some stuff and then I'm going to get right back into reading Wisteria. Let's see how much I can get done before going to book club, what the rest of the afternoon looks like. I am very anxious. I am somebody that absolutely loves a plan. So not having a plan definitely makes me a little anxious right now, but it's going to be okay because reading is fun. Talking about books is fun. I'm doing fun things. I don't necessarily need to know the plan, but I just like to know the plan. So let's get editing and then pick back up with Wisteria. It is the morning after the readathon. I was able to read for 30 hours and 48 minutes this weekend. I did finish another book last night, but it was not Wisteria. I still have, I think, about like 130, 140 pages left. So hopefully I'm going to finish it today. You're going to have to watch my TBR video next week to see if I do, but I did get farther, which was good. The book that I did finish was Their Vicious Games. I was able to go to book club. Book club got a little delayed and we stayed for, I think, like an hour and a half, which is pretty good. But then I was listening to Their Vicious Games on the way there. On the way back, I read Wisteria for a bit, and then I started to make dinner. And anytime I'm making or eating food, I'm usually listening to an audiobook. And there was a point where I distinctly remember I was really close to finishing my dinner. If I wasn't such a slow eater, I probably would have finished Wisteria, but I was still eating, and I maybe had like an hour left of the book, and this major twist happens. And I was like, well, now I gotta finish it. I was like, I can't leave that till tomorrow. I gotta finish it. So I did finish Their Vicious Games. It's either a 5-star or a 4.5 star. I feel like I gotta sit with it for just a little bit before determining like a final rating of the book, but I really thoroughly enjoyed it. Clearly I couldn't stop listening to it after a certain point in the book. So that was very good. So I finished Every Last Fear by Alex Finlay, which I gave a 3.75 out of 5 stars. We also finished Their Vicious Games, which I am, like I said, I'm between a 4.5 and a 5 star. I can't really think of anything that I would take stars off for. It's just more of a vibes deal, but like I said, I'm going to reflect on that. And then finishing Fellheart Huntsman, probably the biggest accomplishment of the readathon for me, and I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. I did not jump back into Wish I Were Here, so this is going to definitely be an October read, and then hopefully finishing Wisteria today. That's the goal, but like I said, next week you'll have to watch the video and find out. So I really love doing this readathon. I think it's been so fun. I'm excited to do my first TBR video next week. I feel like I haven't actually talked about the books that I've been reading in my September videos, so I feel like I actually have the space to talk about it. So it'll be really interesting to see. This was also my best reading month of the year, so I think it works out very well. And wish me luck on finishing Wisteria. And don't forget that you can always pick up a book and join me for reading. And if you already are reading, to keep on reading.